Ciao Juventini, welcome to the AJC. I'm Alberto. I have all your morning news surfacing around Juventus to August 26. All right, Paul Pogba gets the green light for action. Max Allegri gives his press conference ahead of the second match of the season against Bologna tomorrow. We'll take a look at what the starting lineup looks like. We have more Mercato news as we get close to the end of the Mercato session, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic has a new book out, and he speaks about Calciopoli in 2006, his thoughts and feelings on it, and asks a question that I'm going to answer, not only for him, but for everyone else who just may not know the answer. All right, so like the video, subscribe to the channel, and without further ado, let's rock. Okay, we're going to kick things off with Di Marzio as he brings out some news about Filip Kostic, and he says right now as it stands, it looks very, very difficult for him to move on from Juventus at the moment, so expect him to stay. However, should a deal be found, Di Marzio is naming home as a replacement option and a player coming into the mix for Juventus if Kostic is moved, okay? But Berardi still swirls around Juve, okay? And still being said that Juve is interested in Berardi. What's interesting is that Dionisi has come out, even though Berardi has been training and returned to training with Sassuolo, Dionisi said today he is not going to be taking part in action this week, and he says he will be available for the next round of matches. However, is that in fact true, or are they waiting for a deal to come through? Who knows? Time will tell. All right. Now, as far as Paul Pogba goes, all right, he is finally ready for the pitch, okay? So Max Allegri even confirms everything in the press conference, saying that, look, they had an intense training session round on Wednesday, and Paul Pogba had absolutely zero negative effects from it. He is ready to go, and Max Allegri also adds he could play an important role in tomorrow's match. Does that mean he's starting? Well, not according to the latest rumors, and we'll get into that. Now, there is some outside of fitness news surrounding Paul Pogba, and that is that Giuntoli and Juventus are still looking to try and lower his salary, all right? And again, it's a great idea. I think all the fans are going to agree that would be fantastic if he would do that and have bonuses that are then incentive based, and that's what Juventus is trying to do. Now, it's all a great idea. We'd all be for it. However, trying to get a player to agree with that is going to be very, very difficult, and that's what I expect from Paul Pogba. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to get him out of the contract terms that he has right now. However, time will tell, and that would be an incredible gesture from Paul Pogba, okay? So this gesture, some would see as, yeah, you would do that if you really love the club and whatnot, but this is their livelihood and whatnot. Paul's getting older and everything. I will never tell any player what they should or shouldn't do when it comes to their personal career, but I would be incredibly grateful and thankful if Paul Pogba was willing to accept this type of deal or change to his salary, but I am definitely not expecting it, and I wouldn't expect it of any player, okay? So let's see what happens with Paul Pogba on that front. Now, we get to Udinese. They were trying to close deals on two players, Kaio Jorge and Sule. Well, they missed out on Kaio Jorge because all the latest reports say that Frosinone is going to wrap up a loan deal very, very soon for Kaio Jorge. So he will be going to Frosinone. As far as Sule goes, well, now there is new interest from Real Betis. So Udinese could potentially be missing out on both those players. Udinese also rumored to be moving Beto, and that's why they were looking at Kaio Jorge as well. Well, now they might have to find alternatives for both those players, okay? We will see what happens. But Kaio Jorge to Frosinone on loan, being closed very, very soon, according to reports. Lazio looking to come in and swoop in for Bonucci on Union Berlin after waiting so long. It is being reported that they could come in and finalize something. Now, we heard the news yesterday from Di Marzio that things were very, very complicated on the closing of the deal for Bonucci with Union Berlin and even Juventus involved. Well, can Lazio find the breakthrough? Maybe. There are also more reports that Genoa now has started and first contacts have been made to try and bring Bonucci in. So Bonucci, This could hurt Union Berlin because now we know Bonucci's intent was to stay in Italy. Now he's got a couple options that are coming back into play. I would expect him to look at those ones before Union Berlin, all right? Lecce, they could come in for a move on Miretti. Now, I will stay the same on this. Last season, I was saying Miretti would do well with a loan. I do think he should see a loan, but if we don't have a midfielder coming in, and this is our midfielder list going into the season, I would actually keep him around. But Lecce could come in. We will have to see what happens. Now, we've got Max Allegri's press conference, but before we get into that, Zlatan Ibrahimovic has a new book out called Adrenaline, and he talks about Calciopoli, or Farsopoli, as I like to call it, in 2006. Now, he says, I will always feel we won those Scudetti. They are mine, and I can't understand how you could just take that away. Furthermore, I can't understand how you would accept someone else's medal. Well, that's the question Zlatan Ibrahimovic is asking. I will answer it for you, Zlatan. It's very, very simple. It's because they are cartonati. Okay, and we know exactly what I'm talking about, but they are cartonati. And you should be very familiar with them because you joined them, all right? They're cartonati. That's why they will accept it. That was an absolute joke. Now, to Zlatan's credit, he does continue on to say that sports justice in Italy is an absolute joke. He furthermore adds that he loves seeing the 38 with the Scudetto badge at Juventus Stadium, all right, Allianz Stadium. And he says for him, that is justice, and that is true. That is not a false number. That is an accurate number, all right? So bravo, respect to Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and I actually look forward to his new book. Now, Allegri's press conference as we get ready for the second match of the season tomorrow against Bologna. He says there was too much enthusiasm around the club after the first victory, all right? And he says it is going to be about keeping balance and whatnot. This is typical of Max Allegri. He never wants anybody to get too high, but he also doesn't want the players to go too low. He just wants to keep them level, all right? As far as Bonucci goes, he was asked about the Bonucci situation. He says, look, I have nothing to add. Leonardo knows exactly where the club stands, and it is what it is. As far as the age of the team, Max speaks to it, and he says, yes, the age of the team has dropped significantly, and what we have to do is ride the wave of the enthusiasm of these youngsters, and I completely agree with that, all right? We can have a great balance when I look at this roster with experienced players, some young players that have good experience, and then young guns that are ready to rip, okay? So I actually like this roster going into this season. He furthermore continues, obviously we talked about Paul Pogba. He could play an important role. He said Perin will start as Szczesny has a knock. The latest reports coming from Sky Sports are that McKennie is set to start in the middle of the pitch over Fagioli and Miretti, but Max Allegri did not allude to what he's going to do in the midfield. What he said was, I still have some question marks coming out of training that I'm uncertain about what I'm going to do. And could that involve Paul Pogba and McKennie and Miretti or Fagioli in the midfield? You would have to think, because your starting lineup as projected is probably going to be extremely close to what we saw against Udinese in the opener. You're going to have Perin starting because Tech's got a blow, but across the back, you're going to get the Brazilian trio, okay? Danilo, Bremer, Sandro. In the middle across right now, like I said, you've got Weah, then you have McKennie being listed, Locatelli, Rabiot, and Cambiaso with Chiesa and Vlahovic up top. However, look for some changes potentially on in the midfield there, and potentially up top starting someone differently, but I wouldn't expect that either. I think the only question marks are in the middle of the pitch. Juventini, we get very close to the second game. I'm Jack. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be live getting ready with a match day preview, talking about the two clubs, tactics, everything, and the news, having some fun, and then I'm going to bring you the live watch along, all right? Can't wait to see you all there. Till then, as always, fino alla fine, forza Juve, ciao tutti.